C. Zone A captured. Double down.
Well then.
That's why we have fire C. Double down.
Well then. Hey Guardians, I just want to let everyone know that I do have both a Twitch and a Twitter, and I'm very active on both. Feel free to come give me a follow on both, links in the description. This gun is going to get nerfed, make no mistake. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wanted to know what the OG Modern Warfare 3 ACR would feel like in Destiny 2? Have you ever wanted an exotic auto rifle that has great PvE utility and absolutely thrives in the Crucible? Have you ever wanted a gun that can punish teams that handhold with ease? I have good news for you, and if you're trying to use literally any other weapon that isn't like Red Death or Igneous, I have very, very bad news for you. Guardians, today we're talking about an absolutely insane auto rifle. For some perspective, this weekend in Trials, as of recording this on Friday, Khvostov has accounted for 20% of Trials weapon kills. The Khvostov has returned to us and it is stronger than ever, and this weapon feels amazing. Like, I don't think I've ever used an auto rifle that just feels so damn good. Now, of course, you can obtain Khvostov from an admittedly awful, very much unfun quest from the Final Shape. The quest is very long, and I would highly recommend putting on Strand Hunter with double grapples, an eager-edged sword, and a skimmer purely to help you get around fast, because you are going to spend a truly unreasonable amount of time just running around the Pale Heart. Datto actually has a very good guide on how to get this gun, and I'll link it in the description. Now, like I said, the quest sucks. It's just a ton of running around, but it is 100% worth it. I wish I'd gotten this weapon sooner because this weapon is addicting. I have had kind of a hard time putting it down. Now, on your screen right now, you can see the Khvostov's base stats. We're looking at 37 range, 42 stability, 66 handling, 79 reload speed. And you can see the exotic perks now as well. First off, the right choice. Every 7th bullet from this weapon deals additional damage and ricochets to nearby targets. And Eyes of Guardian. Collecting orbs of power strengthens this weapon's next several ricochet shots, allowing them to bounce between multiple targets. Now, starting off with PvE, the Khvostov is first off just a very strong utility weapon. For ad clear, Khvostov doesn't have the same potency as something like Sunshot, but let's be real, few weapons do. But the ricochet rounds do make ad clear a breeze. The first shot you fire will ricochet, and then every 7th shot after that will ricochet as well. The ricochet rounds will bounce from enemy to enemy and can chunk groups of ads pretty damn effectively. You do also have Shoot to Loot here, which is just a generally very useful perk for picking up ammo, particularly if you have a Cenotaph Warlock on your team. And while at first glance Shoot to Loot seems very mid-tier, this perk is a favorite among high-level PvE players for a reason. A ton of players who frequently do challenges such as low-man raids or solo grandmasters really love this perk. And of course, given that Shoot to Loot can also be used to pick up orbs, it works very well with how the weapon functions. When you pick up an orb, you'll proc Eyes of Guardian, which will make the ricochet rounds stronger and will also make them bounce more between targets. And when this is active, Khvostov will completely shred groups of ads with ease. Due to how Eyes of Guardian functions, this also makes this weapon extremely effective with any build that involves a lot of orb collection. Whether that's a grenade spam build of some sort or just a standard Star Eater Scales build, throw on Reaper and 1 or 2 kinetic siphon mods, squeeze the trigger and just watch the orbs rain. Now in PvP, this is where I think this weapon really thrives. At first glance, this doesn't seem like a good PvP weapon. No normal perks you'd want on an auto rifle like Dynamic Sway or Zen Moment, no traditional damage perks like Kill Clip or anything of the sort, but believe me when I tell you, this is the best PvP auto rifle in the game and one of the best PvP weapons in the game right now, period. I would say that Red Death is still top dog because it has like a million benefits at once, but this is a close second, and these two weapons have changed the meta, knocking down weapons such as Igneous, Conditional, and even SMGs down a notch. Now, when I first got this weapon, it took me a while to figure out why Khvostov is so good. I mean, this is a 600 auto rifle. Outside of maybe the Summoner, they're just not particularly competitive weapons in the Crucible. So after a whole bunch of testing and nearly 1,000 kills on Khvostov, Khvostov, first and foremost, a big part of what makes this weapon perform so well is weapon feel. High handling makes Khvostov feel very snappy and responsive, and on top of that, this gun has basically no recoil whatsoever. There is something going on under the hood with Khvostov. Much like Outbreak or Red Death, this weapon has exponentially more controllable recoil than other auto rifles in its archetype. There really isn't much of a need to try and control its recoil. In fact, I often find myself pulling down like I would on a normal 600, and I end up overcorrecting and hitting body shots. But when you get used to the recoil, this gun beams. I wasn't exaggerating when I compared it to the Modern Warfare 3 ACR, not the ones from the garbage New Age CODs, but the OG Modern Warfare 3 from back in like 2011. The next huge thing Khvostov has going for it is abnormally high aim assist for a 600 auto rifle. For the sake of comparison, the Summoner has 62 aim assist, Gnawing Hunger has 65, the Suros Regime has 68, and Khvostov has 87 aim assist. 87! That is absolutely insane for an auto rifle, and that's a huge part of why it feels so good. And the last thing is, of course, the ricochet rounds, and I have very mixed feelings on this. On the one hand, it is definitely overtuned. The ricochets have too much range and chain way too easily, which can get very frustrating. If your team decides they want to stay close by you, then you will probably catch some strays from gunfights you're not even a part of. Plus, the ricochet rounds are very loud, annoying, and even kind of distracting at times, and all this gets even worse if the enemy has Eyes of Guardian procced. Plus, Eyes of Guardian makes for one of the most potent damage perks in the game. The Ricochet round will proc every 7th round, starting with the first round in the magazine. The Ricochet round does bonus damage. A normal shot from Khvostov will do 16 to the body and 27 to the head. The Ricochet rounds do 18 to the body and 31 to the head, and when Eyes of Guardian is procced, and those rounds are just chaining back and forth between multiple targets, it really just starts to just eat people alive. And this for sure gives this weapon a higher ease of use than I really like, plus the weapon is just very frustrating to fight against. Like I said before, catching a stray from a gunfight that you're not even a participant in simply because your teammate decided they wanted to be close enough to sniff your ass like a dog making a new friend just isn't fun. And when multiple people on the enemy team have Khvostov, they're probably team shooting you without even trying to team shoot you. So between this and Red Death, if you're not using another extremely high performance weapon such as Igneous, No Time, Unending Tempest, so on and so forth, Crucible is going to feel pretty rough. On the other hand, there is a whole lot of handholding and stacks in the Crucible these days. Now, I don't mind handholding in comp or trials. It's an important part of those modes. In fact, I get pretty pissed off when my team splits in those modes. But in sixes, teams handholding and moving like a blob of diarrhea through your lower intestines just makes for a generally very unpleasant experience, especially if you're playing solo. The Ricochet rounds are actually very good at punishing weirdos like this. Now, we're not talking something like Necrochasm, where you can get a kill and just potentially nuke an entire team, but those Ricochet rounds are often enough to either A, scare the team enough that they start to split, B, weaken them enough that your team gets some easy cleanups, C, gives you something of a chance at fighting multiple opponents, or D, any or all of the above. And if you have a friend with you who also has Khvostov, the two of you can just outright force an enemy team to stop acting like a human centipede, because if they don't, they risk getting picked apart by ricochets. So while yes, this objectively needs to be toned down because it is way too potent, I admit that fighting teams that hold hands and watching Khvostov just rip them apart for doing so, and as a result getting some easy 2, 3, or even 4 pieces is very satisfying. But all this combined means that Khvostov is one of the best weapons in the game for playing aggressively, which is why this gun doesn't annoy me quite as much as Red Death, which has people sitting back as far as they can, walking in and out of rifts. This is the first auto rifle in a very long time where I felt comfortable playing aggressively. Usually I feel like I have to pace myself a bit more when I'm using one, but that isn't the case with Khvostov. In fact, in the current sandbox with all the hand-holding, I actually found myself having an easier time using Khvostov than something like a 140 hand cannon or even an SMG a lot of the time, which shocked me because I can't think of another auto rifle where that's the case. And as a nice little bonus, I swear to God, Khvostov just does not take flinch. Like usually if I have to fight a 120, ace, or literally any weapon with explosive payload, an auto rifle will really start to struggle, but for whatever reason, Khvostov just doesn't seem to have this problem. Like I said, there's something going on under the hood with this gun that we don't know about. Now, that's not to say this weapon makes you invincible. The minute you get something like Eternity and you're playing a team of boomers sitting in the back of the map with Red Death, Elsie's, and Gravlance or No Time, you'll definitely see Khvostov start to struggle more. But outside of that, this is one of only a few auto rifles that really thrives in PvP. Now, do I think this is the best primary in the game? No, I don't. Currently, I'd say Red Death is probably the most broken primary in the game, but this is honestly a close second. Do I think Khvostov is still a strong option? I do. In fact, I think it's even very much overtuned for what it is. I'd even go so far as to say that this is a top 3 option for PvP right now. Would I take this into comp or trials? Believe it or not, depending on the map, I absolutely would, and I cannot think of another auto rifle where I can say that. Khvostov can hang with the heavy hitters in PvP. I'm talking Red Death, No Time, Igneous, aggressive and precision frame SMGs. This weapon can more than just keep up. Now, I really do love this weapon, but I hope eventually the ricochets get toned down in PvP because they are incredibly annoying and way too strong. But I do hope that the feel of the weapon isn't really changed too much, minus perhaps the aim assist getting toned down. It's nice having an auto rifle that I feel as comfortable playing aggro with as something like a 140 or a submachine gun. This is a weapon that lets you play fast, and that's a good thing because currently people in Crucible are just way too passive. And as another nice bonus, Khvostov sounds amazing. It has very clean sights, reminiscent of a holographic sight you'd see in other shooters, which I love because I'm a big fan of the Death Donut, as a friend of mine calls it, and while the base weapon model is nice largely due to it being slim and unobtrusive, the ornament for it is just so sexy. I was lucky to have some leftover silver that I burned to buy it because, man, I love this ornament. It's just a very straightforward looking ornament. No overly fantasy or sci-fi crap. It just looks like a very tactical, down-to-business warfighting weapon, and I love it. So Khvostov is a very strong PvE weapon and an absolute monster in PvP, and like I said, one that definitely needs to be taken down a notch or two. I know the quest for this thing sucks, but it is well worth the probably 45 minutes to an hour it will take. And as a reminder, the link to Datto's guide on how to obtain this weapon is in the description. Go and follow along with it, because if you don't, quite frankly, you're gonna have a difficult time in PvP right now. But that is all for me today, Guardians. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, do me a favor and hit that like button. Leave me a comment with your thoughts on Khvostov. And as always, the best way to support this channel is to subscribe with the bell icon. We're nearing 1,000 subscribers, so it would mean a lot to me if you did so. And of course, share this video with anyone who you think might find it helpful, entertaining, informative, whatever the case may be. For now, I will see you all in the next video. Peace, Guardians.